He first makes it seem like I distinguish free will from randomness by just tagging free will with a bunch of undefined words. That's not at all what I did. Well, let's talk about what you did according to what you told me. You said by those words you were somehow just repeating that free will is non-causal. That's both redundant and misleading. What I actually did was point out that our experience suggests to us that some of our actions are both under our control and at the same time uncaused. Yeah, and I pointed out that you have yet to explain what that means. If your position hasn't even been coherently stated, I don't have to address it. You have to go back to the drawing board and actually come up with something, instead of acting like what you said is true by default. This sort of control is something primitive. It is known through what Carl Jeanette calls an actish phenomenal quality. Now, I would disagree with Jeanette that the actish phenomenal quality is all that control is, but I think the actish phenomenal quality is a good label for the feeling of being in control. Obviously, I would say that there's something beyond the feeling. However, since control is known phenomenally, then it cannot really be broken down. Trying to reductively explain my feeling of control to someone who doesn't know it would be like trying to reductively explain the feeling of pain to someone who doesn't know it. Okay, but you just said that there is something beyond the feeling. Why can you not tell me what that is? If you're saying that part is not a feeling, then you can't say I'm asking you to explain a feeling. As Nicholas Ciccione would say, free actions only look random from a third-person perspective, but that's only because we cannot completely understand what's going on if we don't try to understand free will from first-person experience. It would be like a blind man trying to figure out what an elephant is. He can feel the legs, side, trunk, etc., but his perspective will always be limited, and will never reach what a non-blind person would know. You quoted Ciccione. Are you a fucking troll? Do you even know why Ciccione said that? He was trying to have it both ways. He wanted to keep the ability to do otherwise, but since that entails randomness, he also needed a way to get rid of it. He thought he could do this by saying that it seems random from a third-person perspective, but on a first-person perspective you can tell that it actually isn't. He failed to realize that all this means is that the third-person perspective is ultimately wrong, and in reality there is no randomness and you can't do otherwise. He tried to prove a contradiction and failed. Anyway, you're not helping your case at all with this. You're just restating that you can't explain anything. Ander then says that control cannot be non-causal, since according to his definition, control implies causality. This, however, would simply be begging the question. Telling you that you're wrong by definition is not begging the question. If I see a guy holding a toothbrush who claims to be holding a pizza, I am correct to point out that he's fucking wrong, because a toothbrush does not match the definition of a pizza. And at this point, Animating Rebel would say, you're begging the question. You cannot just insist that the word pizza has to reduce to your definition or narrow understanding. Now, to make this comparison complete, Animating Rebel would also refuse to show how his definition of pizza resembles any known definition of pizza. He would instead attempt to define it in negative terms that contradict any normal person's idea of what a pizza is. So if you think you're using control by its ordinary definition, you have to show me which part of that definition you have preserved. You cannot just use the word control without any meaning attached to it. If you're completely redefining control, then it's very misleading to even use the word control. You should use a different word or make up your own if there isn't one to fit whatever you're trying to say. In order to support Animating Rebel's claim that using words by their definitions is question-begging, he says that, if I followed that logic, then I could simply define Ander Smith as essentially stupid and be done writing this blog post. How is that even close to what I'm doing? You're making up a definition of Ander Smith as if that demonstrates that I'm stupid. I'm not making up a definition. I'm telling you that what you're saying conflicts with the definition of control that already exists. What's even worse about your misrepresentation of me is that it's actually something you're doing. You wanted to show that you can have control over your choices despite the fact that your choices are happening for no reason. So in order to do that, you simply made up your own definition of control. You didn't actually prove anything. Yeah, if you get to change the meaning of the word control to whatever you want, you could end up being able to have control in any circumstance. No shit. But you don't get to act like you're still talking about the same thing. All you've preserved is the combination of letters. Now, the thing that really crushes Animating Rebel's defense is that even if there is some kind of meaning to the control he's talking about, it cannot possibly allow his model to escape randomness. Why? Because he conceded that it's random when he said that there is no reason why you do one thing rather than another. That's what randomness means. Now, of course, he can redefine randomness just like he redefined control, but that would be just as pointless. The problem of how someone can be responsible for their actions if they happen for no reason is still there. Animating Rebel doesn't solve this problem, he just asserts that we can still be responsible because of something he can't give an account of. You should also keep in mind that what he means by responsibility is not remotely clear, and it's hard to see how it could possibly be anything worth talking about.